Hello and welcome. My name is Noah Braun, and this is Tips and Tricks with ProPricer. We'll cover useful tips and tricks in ProPricer to help you leverage your time better and get things priced. In today's episode, I'll be showing you resource allocations. Resource allocations are a hidden gem in ProPricer, but their application might be a little confusing to some. So let's fix that with today's episode. Resource allocations allow you to apply a specific number of hours or costs to all or some of your tasks in your proposal. You also have the option of allocating the cost of this resource as an indirect cost rather than a direct cost. This resource's spread amount is predefined in the proposal properties. Resource allocations work similarly to cost estimating relationships, or SERS for short, but they have one big difference. SERS allow you to apply a factor or percentage to estimate costs, whereas resource allocations are based on a specific input value that you enter. In our example today, we'll create a resource allocation called Engineering Management to allocate 1,000 hours of engineering management resource to the entire proposal. Let's dive right in. First, to create the resource allocation, we need to open the proposal properties and navigate to the resource allocation page, about halfway down the left pane menu. Let's create this resource allocation together so you can learn about it on the way. First, in the top resource allocation grid, we need to give the resource allocation a name, which is going to be Engineering Management. For the description, I'll enter the same thing. These two settings after the description are very important and will determine the resource allocation is calculated. This first is called position, and it determines whether the allocation costs will be spread before or after any existing SERS are calculated. It's important because existing SERS can increase the spread amount that your resource allocation is based on. Exclude allocations in the next setting, which, like the previous one, only refers to the order the calculations being done. If you have multiple resource allocations in the proposal, selecting the checkbox will exclude any additional amounts produced by another allocation from calculating on this selected allocation. Next, we'll jump down to the bottom resource allocation grid. This is where you can decide how the allocation will divide its spread amount into the proposal. Under the resource column, we will select Junior Engineer. The task selection over here narrows down the task that the allocation is applied to, but we'll skip that for now. The next column is base level. This determines what the resource allocation is based off of. We can select hours only, hours unit cost, or any indirect cost level. For this allocation, I will select hours. After the base level column is Allocation Method, which has two available options: month-to-month and month-to-total. The month-to-month setting spreads the allocation cost in proportion to the total base level value, in this case hours, for a specific month. The month-to-total setting spreads the total allocation amount times the ratio of total task hours to the proposal hours for base resources in a single month. I know you're asking yourself, what does this actually mean? Well, I've created two proposals that'll open side by side so you can see the different spread methods. Before we do this though, let's finish up creating our resource allocation. The next column is Allocation Level, which determines whether the spread amount is entered as hours or direct cost, or any other indirect element. Then we'll set the curve to 80-20, and we'll leave the period of performance alone so it covers the entire proposal. Next, let's add 1,000 hours as a spread amount. Finally, we'll select Enable Resource Allocation down here at the bottom and click OK. So let's take a look at the allocation we just created in the month-to-month proposal. We need to pull up the Allocation tab in the Resource Input grid of the task view. In the workspace, you will notice it has a green check on it now, which indicates that the allocation has been applied. Take a look at Task Tank 01. This task has 4,000 total resource hours in it and receives 647 hours of engineering management from the allocation. And Tank 02 has 6,000 total hours and received 352 engineering management hours. Now let me snap my month to total proposal vertically here so you can see the difference. As you can see here on Tank 01 in the month-to-month proposal, the allocation hours are 647, but the month-to-total proposal, the allocation hours are 400. To understand this difference, let's look at the resource hours. I preloaded 10,000 total resource hours in both of the proposals, but the month-to-month has less allocated hours because some months have less hours spread for junior engineering and senior engineering. The month-to-total setting averages the hours across the entire period and spreads that calculate a percentage of allocated hours based on the total hours on the task. So to recap today's tips, we created a resource allocation that adds 1,000 hours for the engineering manager resource to our proposal based on the month-to-month total hours. Resource allocations are a handy tool if you know the specific spread amount that you want to spread in your proposal proportionately based on a specific hours or cost. They also allow you to apply those hours or costs in a variety of ways to fit your specific needs. If you enjoyed today's episode and found it helpful, please share it with your colleagues who use ProPricer. If you have any questions about ProPricer, or maybe even some tips or tricks of your own, please email us directly. Who knows, your tip might just end up in your next video. Again, my name is Noah Braun, and as always, thanks for watching.